Hi, everybody. Mitch Tannenbaum here. Thanks for joining me today for the Security News Update. In the Security and Privacy Alerts Department, a college student did an interesting experiment. He wrote some software that was designed to profile users in social media, and that's pretty straightforward. And then he picked that group of people who he said were candidates, and he interacted with them with a bot. Again, not that difficult to go do, but the point is he was able to demonstrate you could automatically do this, and it's probably already happening, potentially a fair amount, where people think they're actually interacting with people who are engaging with them on social media, and they're not engaging with human beings, they're engaging with bots. So, interesting, you can think of all kinds of nefarious purposes why you might do that. Brian Krebs, who some of you may know, Brian is a reporter, used to be for the Washington Post, until the Washington Post decided that cybersecurity wasn't important, and they fired him or let him go. So he's been an independent journalist since then, and speaks at conferences and charges a very nice fee for doing that. Has a lot of readers. And so his website has been hit in the past with denial of service attacks, was hit with another one. This one was 6.3 terabits per second, which is pretty big. In any case, the event was short. Um, Brian, after the most recent previous attack before this one, Google created a service called Project Shield, which is designed to protect journalists and public interest and uh, politicians and stuff like that. And this was the largest attack that Project Shield had ever seen. It was able to withstand us. That's good news. But what's important to you is if you get hit with one of these attacks, your internet provider will just basically fire you. They'll tell you go find another service. And of course, the challenge is going to be if you have been a victim to one of these attacks, finding another service that's one they're taking on might be difficult. So just FYI on that one. Why was he attacked this time, and why was it a short blast? One reason could be that it was a test. Another could be that they knew that he's a reporter, and so he would likely report about that, and they get some attention, and maybe they get some business. So a lot of different possible reasons, but moral of the story, more on this later. If you get hit with it, it's a problem. If you get hit with these kind of attacks, more than likely your website will just crash. And if you turn off your internet connection, which sort of makes your website kind of useless, then you'll be able to reboot your website, and then you can wait, hopefully, for the attacker to get bored, and then you can bring your website back online. On the other hand, if it's important for you to be online, that could be problematic. By the way, these botnets that do these denial of service attacks um, don't charge very much, like $150 a day, and you get a discount if you buy like a couple days. So pretty cheap. The grocery chain Kroger, which owns a bunch of different brands, King Soopers, City Market, some other brands, they've apparently been selling your loyalty program data, and they've been doing what's known as data enrichment. It's a technique that data owners do to go take the data that they know about you and merge it with other data, which either they buy or they create, and then they take that combined data and they sell it. In this case, one of the things that they have combined it with is your income, which apparently is a semi-random number from the data that people are seeing. I don't think they intended to be a random number, but it sounds like the data is not terribly accurate. But they are selling it. Under the CMMC section, there's an interesting question about CMMC's definition of what triggers a significant event that requires you to get a new assessment. And the government has left it pretty loose. All they've said is if there is a significant architectural change or a boundary change and you need to get a new assessment. Now, some people have been pushing for more detailed answers. The challenge is when you get those kind of detailed answers from the government, you may not like the answer. So if we go look at what's required for FedRAMP, if you open a port, that's significant enough to dictate a new assessment. That's, pretty crazy making for people in the commercial sector. So stop asking for more detailed answer. Document what you're doing. and then show that you're actually doing what you've documented, and just be quiet. Under the Cyber Fraud and False Claims Act, the DOJ, as I've been reporting, has made a number of recent settlements. In 2025, Centene has won $11 million. Penn State University got off light, $1.25 million. Georgia Tech is still fighting it. Guidehouse, $7.6 million in mid 2024. Morse Corp, 4.6 million in 2025, and on and on and on. The fight goes on, and the rumor is that the feds have 100 or more cases pending. So we shall see. Microsoft was going to release, and then they pulled the release of a product called Recall, which is kind of a Big Brother-esque kind of tool, which allows, well, in theory, allows you, more likely it allows your boss to continuously monitor what you're doing. Signal didn't think that was a good idea, so they figured out a way to block Recall from being able to capture when Signal is on your screen, which, given the nature of Signal, that's probably a good thing. And that's a new software update, and I think Signal automatically updates. I know it does on the phone. I think it automatically updates on the PC as well. Under important issues, and this is one that I guess they're not going to fix, terrorists still can buy Twitter check marks, blue check marks, as verified firms, as long as they have $8 a month, either from a stolen credit card or some other method. And this includes companies that or people that are on the terrorist watch list, subject to U.S. sanctions. So in theory, U.S. companies, it's against the law for them to do business, or for you to do business with them, but that apparently doesn't bother Twitter. They still take their money. The cybersecurity firm found 600 plus thousand open cloud buckets with 200 billion files. That's kind of a large number to me. Cyber will look for exposed data, and they really found this number that they do this apparently every year. This number is 30% higher than last year, so that's not a great trend. It's certainly not in the right direction. Under legislative and legal, the Dutch government has really been whacking away at privacy. I'm not sure why. I don't know if they know something that we don't know. Recently, they announced that they're going to go off and vet college students who are doing research on their government-funded projects. Now they passed a law to criminalize more kinds of cyber espionage. So they claim this is an effort to protect national security, critical infrastructure, and sensitive technologies. But also, obviously, it also gives them the ability to whack away at people that they don't like what they're doing, whether they are theoretically legal or not. Under the education section, the Russian underground, cyber underground, is like pretty amazing. As a business school case study, it's right up there. So Trend Micro did a I don't know if I'd call it a book report. They'd probably be offended if I called it that. They did a study of the cyber crime underground. They did kind of a Cliff's Note version, a full version, and then they released information on the tools and techniques. So if you want to understand what the adversary are doing, it might be a good thing to read. Under breaches, health tech provider eShift leaked about 100 gigabytes worth of customer data. They connect healthcare facilities with nurses. The data was not password protected or encrypted. In addition to all the normal stuff like social security numbers, it also includes literally copies of identity documents, your driver's license or passport, ever salary history, work history, and more. And then another database that was exposed, includes about 800,000 time card records. So I'm sure the lawsuits will begin soon. Ohio's Kettering Health, which runs about 14 hospitals and 120 outpatient facilities, is now using pencil and paper as their primary technology tool. They've been hit with a cyber attack, and they are investigating. Facebook leaks about 1.2 billion records. Now, let's face it, in theory, there's not supposed to be anything sensitive on Facebook. I'm not sure that's true, but what they got was user IDs coupled with real names, emails, phone numbers, locations, gender, stuff like that. Um, it's a great way to go off and do phishing attacks. Here's one that's not a great one. Trimble, which makes public infrastructure management software, has been compromised. The Chinese threat actor figured out how to do a remote code execution. And we know the public sector ain't great about getting things patched. So my guess is there's going to be lots of instances of Trimble that are not patched for a long, long time, which the Chinese say thank you very much. And they will be lurking around inside there, either just laying low or trying to see how much damage they can do. A security researcher, Jeremiah Fowler, found a database of credentials, 184 million accounts. This is user IDs and passwords. They were stored on a publicly exposed database. And passwords were for things like email, Microsoft products, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Roblox, and many others. So, and apparently a lot of those ones still worked. The president signed the Take It Down Act. This is, I think, a good thing in concept, at least. People, especially young people, who are bullied by other typically young people, putting sexually explicit images of them online, and then they spend a lot of time trying to get them taken down. The social media companies ignore them. Well, there's now a law. The president signed the bill, which makes that a crime and requires the social media companies to take it down in 48 hours. Now, the problem is, obviously, it could get abused, and I'm sure it will be abused. The president even said, well, he's going to use it. Well, I've never seen anybody posting sexually explicit images of the president online. I'm not sure I want to see that. That's a visual I don't want to see. But if he can use it for things that he doesn't like, that's not what the law was designed for. So we'll see how it gets used and abused. But in concept, a good thing. Macs, tens of thousands of Macs are being infected with a piece of malware called Silver Sparrow. The bad news is that Apple doesn't know how it's getting in, or they're not saying. And they may not be saying because they don't have a patch for whatever it is. Um, exactly what the malware is planning to do right now just lays low. We don't know, but I'm sure we'll find out soon. Cutter's gift of an airplane is a security nightmare. It's amazing what it's going to take that commercial airplane and turn it into Air Force One. That is not a simple task. It will cost hundreds of millions of dollars. And then supposedly at the end of the president's term, we're supposed to undo these hundred millions of dollars of changes and give the plane away. It seems like a really weird thing. And I understand he likes it, but we'll see. In any case, apparently we've accepted the plane, or we're going to accept the plane, or trying to figure out how to accept the plane. But I don't think he'll be using it as Air Force One anytime soon. It's in the news bites. Lazy passwords like 12345 6 are still very prevalent. Good hackers went to Ponte Berlin in Europe and earned over $1 million. This is a hacking conference where people hack for money, but the money is put up by the vendors, and the trade is that if you want to get paid, you have to turn over how you did the hack, which allows the vendors to fix it. So pretty good, but it did make the hackers $1 million richer. So that's okay too. Foreign intelligence services are hiring the folks that have gotten fired from the U.S. government. I don't think that these guys would turn over classified information, but all the knowledge that they gain, like for example, one of the groups that one foreign government, I forget which one it was, somewhere in the Middle East, offered to hire the entire team of the U.S. Digital Service. Well, you can't unlearn all the things that you learn running the U.S. Digital Service, and now we're going to just go give that as a gift to some country in the Mideast. The FCC has finally woken up and smelled the coffee and said Chinese firms that have links to the Chinese government should not be testing Chinese electronics to comply with U.S. laws. That would be like phones and other stuff. seems like a reasonable thing. The fact that this is a profound realization on somebody's part is pretty damn amazing. And then lastly, polymorphic phishing attacks are flooding inboxes. Those are attacks which are unique. Each one is new and different, which means that a significant number of the antivirus software products won't detect them because it's one and done. And the next one is different than that one. So, um, good to know, I guess. Uh, in part, that does put more effort on the part of your users. And lastly, are you prepared for a cyber disaster? There's a whole bunch of British companies that have been recently hit by cyber attacks by the same guys. Marks and Spencer, the retailer, Co-op, which is I find this funny, is a food store and funeral home. The Co-op guys were able to recover from their attack in days. Marks and Spencer says that it's going to take them months. Now they claim they had this wonderful, beautiful disaster recovery system in place. If it takes you months to recover, it doesn't seem like it's working. So, my only thought to you, our loyal listeners, is, um, if you are not convinced or haven't tested a full blown restoration of your or execution of your incident response disaster recovery business continuity system, uh, you should. And obviously, if you need help with that, we'd be happy to do that. So, with that, if any of these things piques your interest, you need some help from us, please reach out to us. Otherwise, until next time, stay safe. Thanks for listening.